So what is going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to do a kind of end of year review of Black Ops Cold War Zombies. As we get closer to the end of this game, DLC 4 is right around the corner now. It should come in Season 6, maybe Season 6 Reloaded. That we know is the final Zombies map within this game. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do is basically an end of year review on the Zombies mode. I'm not going to be judging the multiplayer, the campaign, and of course all of this is in my opinion. There are some things about the Zombies that I do like, some things that I don't like, as with any game. I know some people don't like other people's opinions, but this is just my personal experience, what I think, and it's going to be different for everyone. It all depends on how I play, my expectations, how long I've been playing Zombies, how many hours I put into this. So yeah, let me just basically give you my thoughts as we get towards the end here. So I expect the final Zombies map to come in Season 6, maybe Season 6 Reloaded, which means we are maybe 1 to 2 months away from it. That does mean by the time that comes out, maybe my opinions could have changed on the game. One map can make a massive difference, but this is what I think for now. So we're going to start off with the bad stuff, and the first and one of the major letdowns for me about this game, why I don't enjoy the story side of it as much as, say, BO3, BO2, even Black Ops 4, is down to the operators. Having main characters in Zombies is, for me, what made it. This is what started Zombies off, why so many people became interested in the story. It was all to do with the characters. Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, the Victor's crew, we've had celebrity casts in Call of the Dead, Shadows of Evil, Mob of the Dead. Having operators in Cold War doesn't allow you to do that. It means, unlike before, because we don't have a set cast, you don't get an emotional connection to these characters. I think Treyarch tried to do that in the second Outbreak Easter egg, where the strike team was captured by Kravchenko. We all thought they were dead along with Raptor 1, but it wasn't emotional. If you think of, say, the Blood of the Dead ending, the Tag der Toten ending, for some people even the Revelations ending, but I don't know about that. The Blood of the Dead one, especially, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I cried a bit, you know. But because we don't have a set cast, they are different for every single player, and most people change who they play as from map to map. I just don't care for any character that's playable. Therefore, you can't get emotionally attached to them, and that for me is very important. I'm a story person, as you can tell by the content I put out on this channel. I don't really play multiplayer games. Most of the ones I play are story-based, and the playable character is always one of the most important things. If the person you're playing as has no personality, if they're boring, have no emotions, it massively takes away from the experience, and, well, unfortunately, that's what the operators are. You just don't care about them, and it takes away from the experience of the story as well, which I'll get onto later on, because all throughout Zombies, up until this point, a lot of the storyline has been told through quotes that the characters say. Because we have operators, that's just not possible. And having operators does mean we can't have celebrity casts anymore, which was always one of my favourite things about Zombies. That was why Mob of the Dead was so awesome, Call of the Dead, Shadows of Evil especially, Jeff Goldblum being a playable character. We can't have that in Zombies anymore because we now have operators. It was what made one-off maps like those ones so special. So yeah, that's my first point. The only real upside I can see to having operators is if you buy skins in this game. I don't see the point. It's a first person game, you can't see your character, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to spend extra money if I don't have to. And I also can't see it going away anytime soon just because it makes Activision so much money. Moving on though, talking about the gameplay side of things, another issue, although not as big, are the perks. Now, I'm not talking about the perk system, I think that's brilliant, actually the best we've had to date, but I'm talking about the actual perks we have in the game. Now, when it first came out, we had Stamina Up, Juggernog, Quick Revive, a lot of the old perks, and we had one new one, which was Elemental Pop. Now, when it was new, it was okay, but it was always a little bit pointless because you could add one of those elements to your weapon anyway through the Pack-a-Punch machine. The only thing the Elemental Pop machine perk really did was make that effect more consistent. It was an okay perk, never really amazing though. And then as we've gone on through the DLC seasons, Treyarch added in Tombstone, Mule Kick, and then Death Perception. The first reason why I put this on my bad list is because none of these are new perks. We are now almost towards the end of this game's life cycle and we still haven't had a new perk in this game besides from Elemental Pop. And the other reason is, well, I don't think these DLC perks, for me, how I play, are actually very useful. Tombstone out of the bunch is probably the worst to me because we can now buy unlimited self-revives. It's just a pain to use Tombstone. Normally I've got more than enough salvage to buy another self-res. Mule Kick again is a pretty pointless one. Even in older games, BO3, BO2, it wasn't ever a perk that I really brought. Even now that we don't have a perk limit, it's still going to be one of the last ones I buy because the main property of it is to give you 3 weapons, which a lot of the time I don't need. And then the other perk, Death Perception, is mainly for Outbreak players. Yes, if you play Outbreak a lot, this is a very good perk, but for regular round-based maps, it isn't. And I didn't see anyone during the time of its release saying, Treyarch, give us death perception. No, from what I remember, we were all saying we wanted double tap. Hopefully that will come with the last map though. And then the other thing I want to talk about to do with gameplay was the bosses, and I will say for some of the maps I do think there are a little too many. If I could on Outbreak, I'd get rid of the Tempests and the Hellhounds. The Tempests are just purely annoying because when you shoot them they move away. You have to chase them halfway across the map, and then the Hellhounds are not what they used to be. They used to be scary, now they're just annoying because they explode in your face. There are too many of them. Yeah, they're more annoying than difficult. So if I could, I'd get rid of definitely the Tempests from Outbreak and change how the Hellhounds work. If they were like the old Hellhounds, where they don't just explode on you instantly, then they'd be okay. Moving on to the storyline side of the game, I started to mention this a little bit earlier when I spoke about operators and how the story used to be told through them, but some other points I've written down here is intel. 80% of the story now is told through documents, audio logs, and radios and ciphers that you pick up in the game. This for me is totally the wrong way to go about things. Imagine playing a campaign only game and then the only way you can actually figure out the story is for you to pick up documents in each mission. You wouldn't want to play a game like, I don't know, God of War, Red Dead Redemption. I'm just picking out some good storyline games that I've played. Imagine playing them, and in order to understand the storyline, you have to find radios and documents. For a storyline person, it's totally the wrong way to go about things. Don't get me wrong, we've always had radios and ciphers in zombies ever since World at War, but that was usually only about 20 to, I would say, 40, 30% of the story. It was always also told through character quotes, cutscenes. Radios and documents would be about a third of the storyline, whereas now it's about 80% because we don't have cutscenes anymore, or at least not proper ones. I'm not going to count an exfil. We no longer have intro cutscenes like we used to have, and the ending ones, especially for Firebase C, D Machine, we didn't really have one. You can include Outbreak in that as well. Mauer the Totem we do, but because we have no character quotes or cutscenes, the story has to be told through intel, and it's a terrible way to tell a story. They're not telling it to us. We have to spend a couple of hours, which for me is a chore, every season going around picking up 20, 30, 40 pieces of intel, which is a real pain. It isn't fun. And if you don't do that, well, you can't figure out the story for yourself. You have to go to YouTube, and most of the time you're going to have to go to YouTube anyway to find all of the pieces of intel. You would never see any story-based game, any campaign game, ever do that. Also, as I just mentioned, the lack of cutscenes, and even the ones we do have, look terrible. If you compare them to any ones from BO3, especially BO4, the quality of them is terrible, and the story that's actually told through them is poor as well. It's such a shame when you see the quality of cutscenes that the campaign or the multiplayer get, and then you see what Zombies gets. Zombies has always been below multiplayer, but just look at the cutscenes we got in Black Ops 4 or BO3, even the cartoon ones for Tag der Toten or Alpha Omega, they are 100 times better quality than any we have in Black Ops Cold War, besides from the first one we ever had, which was the D Machine intro cutscene. But I think that was mainly just to sell the game. A lot of the intel that we do have, it's just filler. I've collected every single piece of intel in this game. I don't know how many there is off my head, 100, 200, maybe 300, and I would say about half of it is filler. It's nonsense. It doesn't need to be there. It's not important for the storyline. And then the final couple of subjects, although we can put this into one for my bad list, and then we'll move on to the good things, are the maps. The main reason for me why this game isn't the best Zombies experience we've had, but it's the lack of content. The maps and the things to do with them is the main issue, and it has been since the beginning. Cold War released with one Zombies map back in November. When I first heard that, I thought, okay, because we're getting seasons, we should be getting 6 seasons like we have on the past COD, which was Modern Warfare, and that is the case, we are getting 6 seasons. However, what I thought was we would be getting a Zombies map every season, so every 2 months. That to me didn't sound, too demanding, especially considering we only had one Zombies map at launch. But we are now almost towards the end of the game, we have one more Zombies map to come, and we have 4 Zombies maps in the game, well actually 3 if you don't count Outbreak. You may be thinking, well Eli, this is pretty normal. If you look at Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, there was only 4 DLC maps for those games as well, which is true, but you also have to remember Black Ops 3 had 2 Zombies maps at launch, The Giant and Shadows of Evil, and Black Ops 4 had 4 Zombies maps at launch, Blood of the Dead, Classified, Alpha Omega, and 9. We were absolutely spoiled with 4 Zombies maps at launch for Black Ops 4. So when you go from that, even though you could argue those maps weren't as good, when you go from 4 maps to 1, it's a massive downgrade in terms of content, especially considering you're still paying the same price. You'd expect the same amount, if not more than the year before. By this time in Black Ops 4, just going off the top of my head, we had 7 zombies maps, and in Black Ops Cold War right now, we have 4, or you could even say 3, because Outbreak isn't a round-based zombies map. That's a totally different experience. So there isn't enough maps to keep you busy. 9 months into a game's life cycle, and only having 3 round-based zombies maps, that's just not enough content to keep you busy. And even in the maps that we do have, I can't quite put my finger on it, but for each and every map we had in BO3 or BO4, I could play those maps until we got to the next one. I felt like there was enough content, enough side Easter eggs, enough story information to go through in each and every map that would last you until the next one, say 2 or 3 months later. Whereas I find the content in the Cold War maps lasts me for maybe a week. To be honest, even shorter than that, like 3 or 4 days. After that, I'm left thinking, well, can we have the next zombies map now? There definitely aren't enough side Easter eggs in these maps. There aren't enough things to do other than the main Easter egg quest and just going for high rounds. On BO3, 4, 2, we had things like buildables, multiple wonder weapons in each map to craft. Like I said, side Easter eggs. Those maps felt like they had so much more replayability compared to the ones we have. And, well, besides from our latest one, Mauer Totem, which I think they've done a really good job with, D-Machine, Firebase C especially, and Outbreak, but we'll get onto that, they lack personality. They've got no character. They don't feel like zombies maps. Mauer Totem is different because I think they've done a pretty good job of that, but the rest to me feel like they could be campaign or multiplayer maps. So yeah, that covers that point. There aren't enough maps in the game. There's also not enough content in each map, and most of them don't even feel like zombies maps. Compare any map in this game to Der Eisendrache, Shadows of Evil, Mob of the Dead. Think of the character, the magic in those, the atmosphere, and then you compare the atmosphere of those maps to this. Yeah, I've always thought this could have something to do with the engine, just because the magic of zombies just isn't there. And then finally, for my bad points, I want to talk about Outbreak. Now, if you watch this channel, you will know I'm not the biggest fan of this mode, for a few reasons. One, I like the fast pacedness of round-based maps. Outbreak isn't that, it's a lot slower. Also, all of the Outbreak maps not only feel like multiplayer maps, but, well, they are multiplayer maps. They're all taken from multiplayer. You could say, well, Eli, that isn't really the case for Zoo. But let's be honest, does that feel like a zombies map? No. The maps are too big for me, which goes with the slowness of the game mode. At the end of the day, I feel like it depends on your playstyle, but I play, well, not only zombies, but Call of Duty as a whole, the multiplayer, for the fast pacedness. Call of Duty is an arcade style shooter. The multiplayer and the zombies has always been, you know, fast-paced, training in tight areas, getting out of sticky situations. Outbreak is totally the opposite. It's too easy, too big, too slow. For me, that makes it boring. The objectives I find repetitive after you've done them once. You then cycle on through the maps where eventually you're going to get that same objective again when you did it, say, half an hour earlier. I don't find there's anything unique between each map either. Yes, of course, they look different and in some cases have their own theming, but there's actually no difference gameplay-wise between them. And I would say mainly the main reason why I don't like Outbreak, because I have no issue with Treyarch trying something new, but I do have a problem with it when it takes away from the actual main zombies experience, what it's always been, which is round-based maps. If Outbreak content came out at the same time as round-based maps, and we had the same amount of round-based content in this game that we've always had, say 6 round-based maps in the game by now, or 7, then I'd be fine with Outbreak, I'd have no problem at all. But when it's taken away from round-based content, I do have a problem, because if you don't play Outbreak, if you don't like it, at the end of the day, it is a totally different mode to what we're used to in zombies. It's something new, so if you don't enjoy it, if you don't play Outbreak, well, you've got nothing else to play, because they're not releasing round-based maps as well. I know a lot of people said, well, Treyarch had to try something different. Outbreak had to be a thing because zombies was becoming stale, but I disagree with that totally. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't remember one single person at the beginning of Cold War saying, you know what, I don't want any more round-based maps, you have to give us something else, zombies is boring now. If I remember correctly, what we were actually all saying is, well, we want more round-based maps. We only had 1 in the game at launch, we want more. Not stop giving us round-based maps and give us something totally different. We never even knew Outbreak was a thing until maybe January, so if you don't enjoy it and people are complaining about it, you can't blame them, because this isn't what people brought the game for. I pre-ordered the game in September not even knowing that Outbreak was a thing. We all expected consistent round-based zombies maps. And I would also say, because again I know a lot of people will be saying this, well, content is free in this game, yes, but I also didn't pay £60 expecting 1 zombies map. I paid that expecting consistent maps like we've gotten previously. And especially because we only had 1 in the game at launch, I would have expected a map every season. So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that. Outbreak's a totally different game mode to what we're used to. So if you don't like it, if you're a hardcore zombies player and you've been playing it for a very long time, you're used to this fast-paced action, whereas Outbreak is it's like playing a totally different game. So that mode just isn't for me. I will say one way they could improve it, I think, is adding PvP. I've said this since the beginning. In fact, when they first teased it, I actually thought it was going to be PvP. Say you're a team of 4 and then you have another team of 4 and you're both fighting out between each other, seeing who can do objectives first, and you can kill each other as well. I think that'd make it a lot better, but those are all of my bad points. Getting on to the good stuff though, just wrapping this video up. I mentioned this a little bit earlier with the perk system, but the whole upgrade system we have this year in Zombies, the ability to upgrade perks, weapons, or field upgrades. I love that there's 5 upgrades you can now do to your perks. Collecting different types of Ethereum gives you something to do. You can't argue that it does add more replayability. I'm so thankful they didn't go with the perk system that we had in Black Ops 4. This is more of the OG one, just with a little twist. The feel of the game I also think is very good. Treyarch Zombies has always been more cartoony, graphics wise, whereas this game is more realistic just in how it feels. I think a lot of that is down to the fact that this game was actually developed by Sledgehammer first, not Treyarch, which is why it's not a usual Treyarch style of game, but I do like the feel of the gameplay. And also something I'd love to see more of is the Dark Ether. It had a little role to play in D Machine, and since then we haven't really seen it. I'd love the option for us to play inside of the Dark Ether instead of us being there for a short amount of time and then being teleported back to reality. I just think the whole skybox, the theming of it looks really good. So yeah, there we go. Bear in mind, this was all in my opinion. We are towards the end of this game's life cycle now. We do have one more Zombies map coming, but I feel in this video I could give you guys my overall opinion of this Zombies experience so far. By any means, not bad, not the worst. I also don't think it's the best, but the major issue with it is just the lack of content. Everything else, besides from the story stuff as well, but I suppose the operators I could get over. Outbreak would be fine if there was the usual amount of content. The lack of new perks isn't a massive problem, but the story being told through Intel, the quality of cutscenes, and the lack of maps and things to do with them, for me is why this Zombies is just okay. But who knows, maybe by the time the last map comes around, things could change. Anyway, there we go. That is my almost end of year review. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Of course, you're going to have your own opinion, so I'd love to hear what you guys think. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, goodbye.